Have you ever done a jigsaw? I'm sure you have. Some of them are really difficult. I wonder, is there times when you've got the pieces and you think to yourself, how on earth are they going to fit together? Joseph's life was a wee bit like that. Here he is now, he's a governor in Egypt. But you think back, many years ago, he had been rejected and sold by his brothers. And even he'd done some time in prison in between times. Joseph's life at times did not make sense. But you know, Joseph was learning a very important lesson about God. That no matter where he was, because he loved God, God was always with him. In fact, God was working all things out together for Joseph's good. There's a verse in the Bible, and it's from Romans chapter 8 and verse 28. And it says this: all things work together for good to those who love God. Boys and girls, God is ruler over all. And he can work all things out for good in your life, and as we'll see today, in Joseph's life. Things weren't looking good for the brothers. If you remember from last week, they were on their way back home, but there was one of them that wasn't with them. Simeon. He had been kept behind in Egypt and he was in a prison. What on earth were they going to tell their father? As they stopped that night to rest, one of the brothers went into their sack to open up for some grain for their donkey. And to his horror, he seen a silver cup in his sack. How did that get there? What are we going to do? He ran and he told his other brothers, and they were afraid. The first thing they said was, why has God done this to us? Their first reaction, young people, was to think that they were being punished. Why? Because they had a guilty conscience. All those years ago, whenever they sold Joseph and pretended to their father that he was dead, it was still lingering there in their conscience. You see, God has made each and every one of us with a conscience. It's kind of like a little voice inside of you which tells you when you're doing the wrong thing. You know what that's like, don't you? That's your conscience. And every time something went wrong, the brothers' guilty conscience came out because they still had that sin in their lives. You know, because we're just humans, we will fail, we will falter and do wrong things, and we simply cannot fight our own conscience in our own strength. We need somebody to help us. Let's go to God's word to see who exactly that person is that can help us. It says in the book of Hebrews, chapter 9 and verse 14, the blood of Christ, who offered himself without spot to God, can cleanse your conscience from dead works to serve the living God. God's Son Jesus took your guilt and the blame when he died on the cross. Do you know that? He alone can take away your sin and make your guilty conscience go away. Then you can love and serve God. Joseph's brothers still thought about their sin. In fact, it seemed to follow them wherever they went. When they arrived home, it was time to explain everything to their father Jacob. They had to tell them why Simeon wasn't with them and where he was. Look at Jacob's face. He is horrified. He's sad. And then the brothers turned and said, we cannot go back to Egypt unless we bring our brother Benjamin with us. Immediately, Jacob's reply, no way, you're not bringing Benjamin. I have already lost Joseph. Simeon's out there as well, and now you want to take Benjamin away? I simply will not allow it. Nothing more was said for a long time, until one day their food started to run out, the food that they had brought from Egypt. Jacob may have looked around at his sons and thought, we're going to have to go back to Egypt. And one day he told them, you'll have to go back and get us some more food. This time Judah was the one to speak up, and he said, Father, we simply cannot go back to Egypt without our younger brother Benjamin. And they went through the whole thing again. The father said, no, you're not taking him, no way. And Judah said, but we have to. If we don't take him, then that man, that governor, will not even look at us if we don't bring him. And Jacob said, why did you even tell him that you have a younger brother? And Judah replied, well, he asked us. I wasn't to know that this is what he was going to say. Jacob had a choice to make. And he realised that he needed to send his sons back to Egypt to get some more food, because there was a famine, remember, in the land. And he said, okay, go. You have to take Benjamin, but I want you to bring that governor a gift. And they put together a wee package, honey, spices, things like that. And Jacob gave them extra money for them. And they travelled, and they went their way back to Egypt. You know, Joseph seen them coming. And Joseph said to his servants, I want you to go, and I want you to tell them, because Joseph knew that Benjamin was going to be with them if they came back. Tell them that I want them to come and have dinner with me at noon. When the brothers heard this, they were really afraid. What is this about? Why does he want us to have dinner with him? This is all very strange. You see, things didn't make sense to them. And back home, Jacob, well, he was really sad, because he did not know if he was ever going to see his son Benjamin again. You know, Jacob loved God, and Jacob trusted in God, but for him, life was really hard. I wonder today, young person, is life really hard for you at the minute? And you do know God in that special way, and maybe there's things that just do not make sense to you at all. I want you to keep trusting in him, because God will work out all things for his good. I want you to think about a pharmacist, somebody who works in the chemist. Whenever you're sick, you go there and you get your wee bottle of medicine. Whenever they have to make up that medicine, the pharmacist has to put together exact and precise measurements. So they put in so much of one thing, maybe a few drops of another, and make sure that it's just right. And then they give it to you and you take it and you feel better. But if they had put too much of one ingredient in, it would be poison and you couldn't take it and it wouldn't work. I like to think of God in that way. God holds us in his hand. And every now and again, he'll send certain things our way. Sometimes they might be very pleasant and you mightn't want them. But remember, God is still in control. And in another time, he'll maybe pour loads of blessings onto your life and you get many good things and kindness and wonderful things like that. God knows what he's doing, young people. Whenever you trust in him, remember that he will work out all things. And you mightn't understand then what's going on, but you will one day. You know, the brothers went to the dinner. And they bowed down to Joseph and they gave the parcel to him. And the first thing Joseph said to them was, is your father alive and well? And they said, yes, he is in good health. And then he looked at Benjamin and he said, are you the younger son that they spoke of? And Benjamin said, yes, I am. And very quickly Joseph left the room. Maybe they wondered, where did he go? He could not hold back his emotions. He was starting to cry. He was so happy his father was well, Benjamin was well, and right in front of him were all of his brothers. This is good. He came back into the room and dinner was served. The Bible tells us that Joseph instructed that Benjamin would get 5 times more food than anybody else. You know, they all had a really good time. They enjoyed themselves. In fact, Simeon was now out of prison. He was with them and things looked good for the brothers. And they thought, this is all right. Yeah, we're doing well and we're going to get food. We've had a lovely meal and we'll go back to our father tomorrow, all of us. And it'll be good. But something had happened that night when they went to bed. They stayed in Egypt that night and were going to leave early the next morning. But what they don't know, Joseph had asked his servant to go and put his royal cup into one of the bags. Now, they didn't know what had happened. And early that morning when they packed their bags and they left, they didn't realise what they had actually brought with them. And as they were leaving, they heard the servant come shouting after them to stop. And they couldn't understand why the governor's servant was chasing them again and wanted them to stop. He said to them, why have you done this? Do you not realise how wrong this is? And they looked at each other. What are you talking about? You have stolen the royal cup from the governor. No, we haven't. We have not done that. In fact, they were really annoyed of being accused in the wrong because they didn't put anything there, and they were appalled to be even accused in that way. And the brother says, no way, we didn't do this. And they turned and said, okay, if you find it, whoever's bag it's in, you can kill them. And the rest of us, we will come and work for the governor as slaves. They were certain that it wasn't there. So the servant, starting with the eldest, he worked his way down, checking all their bags. Nothing there, nothing there. And then he came to Benjamin's bag, the last one. What do you think he found? The royal cup. Can you imagine how horrified they were? Can you imagine how afraid they would be? What is this? What is going on? And they were brought back to Egypt. Oh dear. I wonder what's going to happen to them now. Joseph was there and he was waiting for them. And in a harsh voice he said to them, why have you done this? Why did you take the royal cup? You know, Judah came forward and he said, please, if we can explain, honestly, we didn't do this. This is a mistake. It wasn't us. We did not steal this cup from you. You know, Joseph listened and he said, you know, the rest of you can go, but the young one whose sack that we find the royal cup in, he will stay and he will be my slave. Joseph wanted Benjamin with him. You can understand why. But Judah, maybe he moved forward a wee bit. Perhaps he lowered his voice as he spoke to Joseph. And he said, if I may explain myself, and please don't be angry. My father has already lost a son, and he was deeply troubled and upset when that happened. And if I go home and I don't have Benjamin with me, he will die of sorrow. And that means that he'll be so sad that it will kill him. And he said, I can't do that to my father. I promised that I would look after him. So please, would you take me to be your slave? Let Benjamin and my other brothers go and I will work for you. Maybe it was Judah's change of heart that Joseph realised that these men they meant what they said. Wasn't Judah the one who had actually got the idea of selling Joseph in the first place? And now look what he's doing. He wants to take the place of his brother. Joseph told the Egyptian people that were in the room, he told the Egyptians, I want you to leave the room now. Maybe the brothers looked around and thought, what's this about? Joseph was now left in the room with his brothers, alone. He could not control himself. And he started to cry and sob really loudly, and they didn't know what was wrong. And he turned around and he said, I am Joseph. I am your brother that you sold. It is me. I am here. Can you imagine? What? It's Joseph and it's really you? No way. It's Joseph. Happy, excited, petrified, because here's Joseph. He's now the governor of Egypt. He's in control of all things in Egypt. And maybe they're really afraid now. What's he going to do to us? Like, we sold him. What's going to happen now? Joseph, his tone had changed. He says, it's me, it's Joseph. Come here, gather around, let me explain. I love this part of the story because we see how much Joseph's character has developed. And he told his brothers, what you initially meant for bad, God meant it for good. Isn't that wonderful to be able to say that? And it's only now, many years later, that Joseph can say that. He realised that he needed to be sold all those years ago. He needed to work for Potiphar. He needed to be in that prison for Pharaoh to then notice him. And now here he is, the governor of Egypt. All things work together for good to those who love God. Remember, young people, perhaps it's a hard time right now. It won't always be. And all those hard times are all part of God's plan for your life. So hang in there, keep trusting him, and keep putting him number one. Maybe you don't yet know God in that right way. I wonder, will you turn from the sin in your life? And will you trust in God? Remember, he's the one that can take it away, and he can help you with your conscience and to do the good things and to make right choices. And then, just watch as your life unfolds. It will all be for the good, and God will work it out. Joseph and his brothers, they hugged and they kissed each other. They were so delighted and excited. And he said, I want you to go back and bring my father to me. You will come and you will live with me now. And he took them and he gave them wagons and donkeys and he gave them new clothes. And they were all really excited. They couldn't get back to Jacob to tell him exactly all that had happened. Joseph is alive. He's not dead. In fact, he is now the governor of Egypt. Jacob maybe didn't believe until he saw all the wagons and donkeys that they had brought back. It must be true. And he came and went with them back to Egypt. You know, Joseph looked after his family, just like he looked after the people of Egypt. All because God used him in a powerful way. Boys and girls, we want you to remember many things over these lessons with Joseph. But remember this, God has a plan for your life. And just like Joseph, at times he could not understand it. It's like a jigsaw puzzle. It will come together. And maybe if we don't know right now the reasons why things happen, maybe we'll not know until we get to heaven. But how exciting that will be. Remember, boys and girls, God loves you so much. Remember the life of Joseph. Ups and downs, but all meant for his good.
Hi boys and girls, we're going to do a wee quiz, and after the quiz is finished we're going to do a wee bonus round, okay? We'll explain about that just in a wee minute. But anyway, first question for the girls. On their first trip back from Egypt, what did Joseph's brother find in their sacks? On their first trip back from Egypt, what did Joseph's brothers find, girls, in their sacks? Think you've got it? That's right, their silver was returned. Boys, why did the brothers think God was punishing them? Why did the brothers think God was punishing them? Because each one had a guilty conscience. Girls, what did Joseph say his brothers must do before he would give them more grain and free Simeon? What did Joseph say his brothers must do before he would give them more grain and free Simeon, girls? They had to bring their younger brother Benjamin with them. Okay, boys, what is the only cure for a guilty conscience? What is the only cure for a guilty conscience? Think you know? Think you've got it? They asked Jesus to come into your life and to take away your guilt and take away your sin. And of course we know that Jesus died on the cross to take away our sin, don't we? Okay, girls, your last question. What did Judah offer to do for Benjamin? What did Judah offer to do for Benjamin? Think you know, girls? He would stay in Egypt as Joseph's slave and Benjamin would go home. Okay? Boys, why can God always work all things for good for all his children? Boys, why can God always work all things for good for all his children? Because God is ruler over all. Now, are you ready for a wee bonus? Okay, so if I win, the boys will get the points. If Rachel wins, she will get the points for the girls team. Okay, so it's quite simple. I have some of Joel's colouring pencils. Okay, now let's see, I'm going to count them out here and see how many I have. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So I have 16 colouring pencils, okay? So here's how the game works. I throw one up and catch it. There's 1 point for the boys. And I get 2 in my hand and I throw it up and catch it, okay? And I keep doing that and see how far I can get, okay? Now I did this, I was practicing this, and I managed to get 11 before I dropped them, okay? So Rachel's going to come into the picture, okay? And good boys, girls, we move, okay? So do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
Well, I haven't practiced, so you go first.
Do you want me to practice?
No, it's okay.
Okay.
Just don't sit them too high because then we'll not see them.
Okay, okay. So do you want to hand them to me? You know,
Okay.
let's keep it right, okay?
Okay.
So first pencil.
One extra
1,
point.
2, oh, 3. Nearly dropped that.
Uh-huh.
We're on the what number now? 4. Oh.
You see, you're not as good. You're not as good as when you're sitting down.
Because everybody's watching me and I'm under pressure. You ready? 5. Oh. Well, it's 6 now, are we? Okay. Ah.
Yes!
7. Sorry, boys. So I've got 7 points. Well, actually, I dropped that one, so it's only 6 points. So Rachel, you have 6.
Right.
You have 6 to beat.
So.
Okay. So
I haven't practiced this,
swap
by
over.
the way, so just throwing that out there.
I hope you're not making excuses before you start. Right. Okay. Here we go. You ready?
Okay. So we just throw it up and cut. Oh!
Okay. We'll let you away with that. Okay. We'll let you away with that. Okay.
I mightn't be able to do this.
Okay.
Throw it up and catch
That's
it.
your
That's what
that's your
practice.
practice one.
Just throw it up and catch it.
Like that. Okay. On 2. Keep them together. That's the trick.
Sorry, girls. I apologise.
I'll give you 3. Now that's cheating.
What? I'm
Turn
throwing it.
around. 4. Well done. Girls can win this.
Oh.
5. 6. Well done. Well done. 7.
Is this not 8? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You're diddling me. Huh?
Sorry. 8. 9. Well done. 10. 11. 12.
My hand's not going to get big enough.
13. 14. With full points here. Well done. 15. Last one for full
Come on,
points.
Rachel, you've
I
got
know
this.
the girls have won this. Well done! Alright, so boys, give the girls a wee clap there. And you never know, we might do that again next week, okay?
That's the end of it. This is our last one. So say bye.
Bye!